Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. It's the OGs tonight. It is I and Mr. Rick, tag team partner. What is up, my friend?
Not much. It's been a good week.
Cool.
Lots of fun wrestling stuff. Dynamite was good. We've decided we're not gonna like recap everything
Correct.
on Dynamite because you've seen Dynamite if you're listening.
Yes.
To the podcast. So we're not gonna recap everything. We're just gonna talk about what we feel like talking about. It was a good week.
Yes.
I enjoyed the show.
Yes. And just a reminder, we will recap pay-per-views, though, because we do understand not everybody watches those, and we will preview pay-per-views. But weekly shows just going to be topic-driven. And then, of course, if anything, like, if they go and sign, a big name or something, of course, we'll talk about
massive happens, of course.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Tony Khan has said that he's going to leave AEW to his children, and he doesn't have children. So if Tony Khan, if you're listening, I will be your child. I'm older than you. But I will be your child if you want.
Yes, 100,000%. You just leave me AEW. I'll probably die before you. Like, I'll just pretend to be your kid until I die.
You have billions. You can keep the billions. I would just like AEW. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll die before him. So, yeah, I'll take that. We'll just pretend.
Works for me.
Shake his hand every now and again. Like,
yeah, there you go.
Hi.
If he wants to introduce me as his son, even though I'm older than him, he can do that.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, he's a billionaire. That would be a very billionaire thing. Like, I bought this man. He's my son now.
I bought myself a son. he lives on my yachts.
He's in his mid-40s, sir. Yes, I know. He's college educated and everything. He had no overhang, no bills.
There you go.
Owns a house. I don't have anything. He's a great kid. Anyways. Yeah, that was interesting. And I also think it's interesting that because WWE is the standard, that they think that every company's in like the wrestling business is going to become a corporate juggernaut.
Yeah, I was actually super happy to hear that he wasn't planning on going public, because whenever you go public, this is like a blanket statement. I know someone's going to be like, actually, some other company went public and it was great. I know it does happen.
100%.
But a lot of the time when you go public, that means listening to shareholders, and it means listening to a bunch of other people who don't actually care about the thing that you're making and only care about profits. So it's cool that he has said that he's not going to be doing that. That's fun.
Yeah, like I said, not everything has to be pomp and circumstance,
and like he doesn't need money. So
exactly. That's the biggest thing that we've talked about on here before. Like when back in the day when there was a new company starting or rumors of somebody trying to start something, that was always, well, they'll never get the money. That was always the big thing. Or they have the money now, but will they sustain it? Like, he is the first person that has, I don't want to say totally disposable income, but he's got more than the average person to take a risk here or there.
I do think unless AEW was losing massive amounts of money, like if it was losing hundreds of millions of dollars, he'd cut it loose. But as long as that's not happening, I think it's fine.
Yeah, even as long as he's like semi having fun too.
Yeah, if he started hating it, I could see him getting rid of it. Like, oh, this is too much work. I hate it now, or whatever. Sure, but
but if you're having fun and it's either breaking even or making, of course, your main goal is to make money. But 5 years in on a company making money is not unheard of. But
and I do like speaking of not having to care that much about money. I mean, he has to care about money, but not that much.
Right.
I do like the small venues they're going to. Like this week, I think they had like 2,500 in an arena that seated like 3,000, but the stage takes up some seats, so it was essentially a sellout, and that's cool. Like it looks good. They don't have to cut off the side of the screen when they show the audience, and like it just sounds better. It just looks more fun. Like it looked good. It sounded good. The crowd was hot. It was nice.
It was, and it reminded me of me and you have texted about this, and I've talked about it on the show too. It had a very Nitro vibe. Like, and I know back in the day, like Nitro did like big, huge arenas too, but they would also do those, like we talked about college campuses and stuff. Like, this had a very Nitro, not necessarily feel, but like the building had the Nitro feel.
I mean, back in the day, like, outside of like even like the last couple years of WWE, where they go to a 20,000 seat arena every week and they sell it out.
Right.
Outside of that, you would always have, they do a 20,000 seat arena here and there, but then they do a small building. Like WWE was doing.
True.
WCW, like there were shows from like state colleges all the time that in an arena that held like 5,000 people. Like that happened on a regular basis. So that's not a weird thing for a wrestling company to do. It's not like they're in front of 200 people.
Yeah, like people, like there's a generation of fans out there that don't realize Raw used to be at the Hammerstein. Like every week.
There's a couple episodes of Raw that were in actual high school gyms.
That's awesome.
Like there were. I didn't realize it at the time because it was like the early days of Raw. It was like 1994 or something, right? I didn't, but like now I've read about it, and they did a week in a high school gym. They taped like 5 episodes of Raw
that's gnarly,
like a gym in front of 300 people, and just aired a month of Raw from this one venue. So
that's so cool. Yeah, like those old Hammerstein shows were, but yeah, like that's where Raw originated from. So I get that you kind of have to ask that question, but
like especially because they were doing it, especially because for the first 2 or 3 years of Dynamite, they were selling out 20,000 seat buildings. So I get that it's a question, but if you're in front of 2,000 people, 3,000 people in an arena that looks good and sounds good, that's way preferable to me than a 20,000 seat arena with 3,000 people in it.
That, and if you're doing that twice a week, if you're getting 8,000 total a week, that's pretty decent. Right. Well, not decent. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they were in front of 100 people, then sure, then there's a problem, right? You can't be. They're spending probably millions of dollars on wrestling contracts on wrestlers, right?
Right.
You can't spend millions of dollars and sell out, 100 tickets. But if you're spending millions of dollars and you sell a couple thousand, and then the pay-per-views always do well. The pay-per-views sell, 10, 15,000 tickets. So like, this is fine. I have no problem with it. And it sounded hot. It sounded good. It always looks weird when they don't show half the arena. So the fact that now they can show the whole arena, even though it's a smaller arena, like it just looks better.
Yeah. Though I really thought someone was going to mess up and totally obliterate the announce table, like jumping off the ropes into like onto the floor. It was just
because it's
a hair too close. Yeah. Like there were
one thing I do think they should change is, I don't know if you haven't, but recent Raws and WWE shows since they did Saturday Night's Main Event, when they did the first Saturday Night's Main Event when they came back, they did it it was like an old school sort of presentation. They made it look kind of like the 80s with like the long tunnel entranceway and like so they did that. And what I like about it is they made the entranceway really narrow, and they put just like guardrails along like a really narrow entrance. Like that's basically the width of like 2 wrestlers to walk down.
Oh, okay.
I think that looks cooler because the fans are closer. The AEW ramp is like the Raw ramp was before, where it's really wide and there's a lot of space. And I don't know. I think it looks kind of cool if they're going to be in a smaller venue, pack everyone in really close, so it feels really close. That would be cool.
That's a heck of an idea. I mean, it does, like everything old is new again. I mean, that is the old way, but you don't see it for a while. That would be cool.
Now it seems cool again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that could be cooler than they are, not that they're not cool, but well, last week we took an in-depth look at Timeless Tony Storm. So if you haven't checked that out, last week's episode.
And she's gotten better since that episode somehow. Like
it's it's unbelievable.
She's the best.
Agreed. So this week we're going to go after go after is like we're going to bury them. We're not. We're just going to take a look at the Death Riders, just as a whole, and some of the things that we would, as fans, would change, or some things we'd keep the same.
I will say they're no longer my least favorite part of the show. They're getting better.
I agreed. But
the least favorite part of the show is whatever MJF is doing with these random wrestlers. That's my least favorite part of the show right now. But Death Riders are getting better.
So well, go ahead. You can start, and I'll jump in.
Oh, I have a whole thing. I'm
feel free. I'll sit back and listen.
The way I've seen it since the beginning is, I think this angle's failing, or not failing, but not hitting where it should be hitting, because it just doesn't really make sense. It feels like, to me at least, it seems confusing for the sake of being confusing. Like Mox is just being confusing when there's like there's nothing. Like at the beginning, it was a kind of like a takeover. We're going to take over the whole company, and now it's just like they're just guys. Like the takeover thing is kind of gone, and they're just I don't know. They're just helping Mox, which is I get. I don't know. I think it's confusing, and hasn't hasn't fit together like we thought it would fit together. I personally at least had really high hopes for it when it first started, and it's
Agreed.
kind of dimmed out since then. So my way to our topic for this week's podcast is how you could fix the Death Riders. So this is
Yes.
how I would think that I would fix the Death Riders. And in kayfabe, I think it would be to kind of point out that it's confusing and point out that it hasn't lived up to what it's supposed to be, but in kayfabe, not come out and be like, your angle is bad, because I hate that about wrestling. So I like do it in a way that makes sense into the scope of the show. And the way that I think it would make sense in the overall scope, the universe of the show, is to have Adam Copeland cut a promo on it. And the reason I think he would work is because he's already kind of seems like he's skeptical of the Death Riders on TV. He's kind of just like, what are you guys doing? You're doing dumb things. So I wrote that promo because I'm a giant nerd. And
awesome.
Now, as I deliver this, pretend that I'm Adam Copeland and I'm doing a much better job than I am, because he's much better at this than me. So anyway, here's the promo.
Okay, go.
Mox, you're scared. That's what this whole Death Riders thing is about. It's not about being tough. It's that you're scared. You're scared that other wrestlers in AEW have passed you by. You're scared you're not the toughest guy here anymore. You're scared that your best moments are behind you. And that's how you surround yourself with this army. You're taking the easy way out. Way back when you returned, you told everyone it's not your company anymore. But who'd you say that to? It wasn't Tony Khan, the guy who owns the company. You were too scared. It wasn't Swerve Strickland or Darby Allin or Hangman Page or any of the other wrestlers here. No, you said it to Tony Schiavone, a commentator in his 60s, because you're too scared. You try to trick us all with your cryptic speeches and your riddles, but there's no real meaning to any of this. You want to make us think you have a plan, but you don't. You're running scared, and you're trying to distract us from that. The truth is, you're just terrified. Yes, you attacked Bryan Danielson, but you did it from behind, and you did it with your army, because you can't do it on your own. Now let's talk a bit about your army. Way back when you started the BCC, you said you're going to strengthen the wrestlers in AEW and lead the next generation, but you haven't really done that, have you? Even recently, you said you wanted to create 100 other Jon Moxleys, but that was a lie too. Ever since you started your mission, you've taken on exactly 2 other wrestlers, younger wrestlers, and those aren't really impressive numbers. Because look at what you've done with those 2. Wheeler Yuta has proven his worth to you over and over again, and he's proven his loyalty too. And what does he get out of it? You demean him and mistreat him, and you throw him to the wolves whenever there's trouble. You let him take the beatings that you deserve. Marina Shafir, she's a badass and a killer, and what does she do now? She's not fighting her way through the women's division. She's not winning championships. She's not even really wrestling. All you have her do is hold a briefcase for you. They deserve better than that, Mox. You let them down, and you let us all down. When you told us your mission to change wrestling, we were all excited, and we believed in you. But did you ever believe in yourself? I don't think so. It was a lie that you designed to trick us. You just wanted to add more members to your army to protect yourself, because you're scared. Yes, you're the world champion, but you hid that title in a case and locked it up, because you're terrified someone else might get it. You won your team won the trios titles too. And where are they? You don't defend them. You don't even carry them. You'd rather hide them than risk losing them. We can all see how scared you are. We can tell by your actions. You attacked Private Party and challenged them to step up their game. They did. They won the tag titles. Yes, they lost them now, but in the process, they earned the respect of the Hurt Syndicate, a group of actual tough guys. And where were you? As soon as they toughened up, you avoided them and hid from them because you're scared. All of AEW has stepped up. Look at Orange Cassidy. He gave you the toughest fights you've ever been in. Look at Hangman Page. He burned down someone's house. Look at Darby Allin. He's about to climb Mount Everest. Powerhouse Hobbs. Look at what he's become. And what are you? You're running around acting like a tough guy and hiding behind your goons. It's not AEW that needs to step up. You need to step up because you're the one who's failing, and you're right to be scared because we're coming for you, and your whole world is coming crashing down. So that's my promo.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, you hit the nail on the head on everything.
See, because what I figure is it doesn't make sense. Like the storyline really doesn't make sense, but it does make sense if you just position it as like Mox is delusional.
Right.
It's not that he's not actually accomplishing anything. He just thinks he is. He just thinks
Right.
he's like a delusional. He's delusional. He's just trying to protect himself. And from there, I would take it to Mox trying to prove that that's not the case. He's trying. He goes. He starts trying to prove he's tough. He starts booking. He starts defending the title more. They defend the trios titles more. He like gets into more and more dangerous matches to prove how tough he is. And eventually, he loses, and they all lose their belts, and that's the downfall of them. Anyway, that's how I would book it.
That's awesome. I mean, wow, that's incredible. When this group first started, I'm glad you brought up Wheeler. I always hated the fact that, like, I mean, he was like the whipping boy and best friends, but whipping boy is in like everybody knew that Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy trained him. So
right, he was below them in terms of like
yeah, and then in storyline, like of course they're gonna rough him up because they trained him. Like everybody knows that's when you go to wrestling school, you're basically just paid to get beat up. Right. So they did it on TV. But then it was like, oh, okay, they're gonna move him over here, and this is gonna be his moment to shine, step out of that whipping boy thing, and it's the same thing, but but they're ignorant to him. At least like Chuck Taylor and everybody was like nice to him and then beat him up.
Yeah. See, the thing is, when he joined the BCC, that was a super cool moment. You're like, oh, he's gonna like step it up. He's gonna
exactly.
He was he bled with them, and now he's on their side, and they're all gonna. But then it kind of it's like the Death Riders angle. It seemed so cool when it started, and then it was just like, eh.
Yeah. Oh man. No, back to Wheeler. I have a couple notes on here that, like, first and foremost, he's only 28 years old. I think that says a lot for like the roster in general. Like they have so many people that are not even 30 that have been doing this for a minute too. Like it's not like they're young and have never wrestled before. Like Yuta's been, Yuta's been pro for like 7 or 8 years already. Like, but I remember his first match on Dark. It was, I looked it up, it's September 11th, 2020. If you're interested, go back and look. First and foremost, dude looks like he's 2.5 years old. I don't understand how in 5 years he aged 70. Like,
well, he grew a giant beard, so that helps.
Well, that's true. He was clean shaven.
Yeah.
But he is, I mean, he's always included in the we're going to use the air quotes, the pillars talk. But he is one of the people that, like people kind of knew Darby, people kind of knew MJF. Like if you had your nose to the ground on the indie scene, you kind of at least heard those names. You might not have known who they were.
Right.
Like Wheeler Yuta, I wouldn't have, if you had a gun to my head and put 3 people in front of me and said, pick one, I would have just picked a random one. Seriously. Right. I mean, literally never even heard the guy's name before. And then, just 5 years later is in a faction with the world champion, is a trios champion, was the Ring of Honor pure champion. I mean, AEW can really make anybody a star. Going to, you brought up Marina Shafir. She also started on Dark. She initially was in NXT, which I didn't realize till I looked this up. She, well, I can't think of her name. Sonya Deville. Her and Sonya Deville were in like the same, I don't know if they called them classes there or whatever, but they were in that same group of talent. Of course, she was cut, but the reason that she was cut is because they thought she looked like what she was doing looked too real. Well, it's because she's like a judo and jujitsu girl,
right?
Like, so like she really knows how to put on an armbar. Like she was doing it correct. I think that's the stupidest reason to fire somebody. Oh, what you're doing looks too good.
That's a problem with like MMA people coming to wrestling, is that like when you do a wrestling move, it's designed to look painful but not be painful, right? Like it looks like it hurts, but it doesn't. But then like if you put an armbar, it may not look painful, but it actually hurts.
And that's true.
And I could see them being like, well, no, that might actually hurt, but it doesn't look like it does. So
that's like put it behind their back and then put your knee in. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It looks more painful, not like I know the way you're doing it actually hurts, but that doesn't look cool on TV.
Makes sense. Well, I always said the opposite of like when people from WWE come to AEW, they have to calm down on the acting.
Yeah.
You know, because like it's too much over the top. Whereas she was quote unquote underacting for them. But she competed professionally in judo, and was that what Rousey did too before MMA? Was she judo also?
I think she was, yeah.
And I know they're very close friends, so I'm sure they trained together at some point. But after I read like all her accomplishments, I really wanted to see a match with her and Serena Deeb.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Or her and Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yes.
See, I want to see her in matches. That's why, like, I included that in the promo. That like she does. This is better than doing nothing, right? Like she's she's in like a main angle with the world champion, and she's on TV every week, and like it's a big thing. Like it's good. That's good.
Yes,
but she's a good wrestler, and why is she not? Like, why has not one woman like Willow kind of did? Willow like attacked her once or twice.
Yeah,
but like she hasn't. Like, why is she not in feuds with other women? I get that, like, they're not going to move her into a title picture because they already have feuds for the titles, like Mercedes is in feuds and Tony and Mariah. But like, she could be doing something. She could be in a feud with somebody.
Yeah, it's almost like because there's not another faction that has a woman in it, she can't. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, they're not in the best friends, so like, it's weird.
They did. No, now that you mentioned that, they really dropped the ball with the conglomeration then, because Orange Cassidy was feuding with Mox. I mean, they could have had Mark Briscoe and who else was with them?
Kyle O'Reilly left now he's back in Undisputed. It was Willow, Briscoe. There was them four. It was Willow, Briscoe, O'Reilly, and Orange.
I mean, they could have had them against the Death Riders.
Yeah, that would have made perfect sense.
They could have had Willow feud with Marina and like Orange feud with Mox, and then have, you know, what's his name? Mark Briscoe feud with, like, I don't know, Claudio or something, right? Like, that would have worked. They could have done that for a while.
Now this just popped in my head. She usually would post, this is me being a super nerd, like, she's a, like, crazy workout person, obviously. And she used to post her workouts, but she hasn't posted her workouts in a minute. So maybe she's hurt. Never thought of that either.
Yeah, I mean, that is possible.
Like, because if you notice, like, well, up until a couple weeks ago, whenever she jumped between Mox and Copeland, like, I mean, she didn't do anything except stand there, but like that was the first thing other than jump over the rail that she has done.
Yeah.
Since Willow. You know, so maybe she tweaked something, or, you know what I mean?
I think my main problem with all this is they've dropped a lot of balls. Like a lot of things. Like you're right. Yuta's in a better position than a lot of people. He is he's in a main storyline.
Yeah.
But like he's doing something, and it's better than being, you know, generic wrestler 6 on, you know, no offense to ROH, but it's better than being like some guy who shows up at ROH every 6 weeks, wrestles a match, and you don't hear from him again. Like, it is better than that. But like, he is still just the guy who takes pins for the Death Riders. Like, he gets beat up for the Death Riders. I don't know. They dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. They dropped the ball on Yuta a little bit. They dropped the ball on Marina wrestling. They dropped the ball on having, you know, a feud between them and the conglomeration. They dropped a ball on, like, it was really cool to think Mox is going to come and he's going to train, even when it was back with Danielson, when they were the BCC. Oh, they're going to train the next set of wrestlers. They picked literally just Wheeler Yuta. They didn't train anyone else. Like, they tried to get Danny Garcia and it didn't work. And then that was it. Like, why did they not train, you know, 3 or 4 other guys? And maybe they didn't all work out, or maybe they left the group afterwards or something, but like, they didn't even try.
I totally forgot about the Garcia thing, because that's Jericho and Danielson were fighting over him.
It's Mox. I love Mox. I think Mox is great. Like, he's a good wrestler. He's a good character. He makes things believable. Like, it's one of the things I thought, not to say he's like technically skilled like Bret Hart, but one of the things I always thought about Bret Hart is the stuff Bret Hart was doing looked like it was real, like he was actually hurting people.
100%,
but he wasn't.
100%, right.
And Mox does that. Like, Mox seems dangerous. He seems like a guy who's going to beat you up. Like, he does. So he's good at that. Like it looks legitimate. He looks like a tough guy. But his storylines, I don't know. When's the last time he's had a really good storyline?
Him and
Stuff with
Eddie.
Jericho a long time ago was good. Like at the beginning of AEW, that was really good.
Yeah. Him and Eddie.
Everything else has been kind of a mess. I mean, you can excuse the stuff that happened when Punk got hurt and like he had to be the interim champion, like because that was all random.
Yeah, that wasn't his.
That wasn't planned. So sure, that you can let go, right? They were running with what they had and fine. But like his stuff with the Elite was kind of a mess. His stuff with he had a feud with Hangman that was pretty good. That was good.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was
he knocked Hangman out and then the Texas Death Match. Like that was a good feud. That's probably the last really good thing he's done. And that was like what, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know he was gone for a while. But his storylines seem to like, I don't know. I don't want to take shots at Mox because he's cool and he's a good wrestler. 100%. I like him. But like
yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. Like I'm sitting here trying to think too, and it's like, oh, there has to be something. And then you're like, oh no, that was kind of like, and again, like that's not like unwatchable, terrible.
No,
it's just not
like it's not bad. But
yeah, it's just not up to his speed or his caliber, I guess.
And it seems like stuff drops off. Like he had the whole stuff with Kenny Omega and then Eddie coming to save him, even though the explosion didn't work in that barbed wire death match. Like the storyline was good. I loved that stuff. Him with Eddie, that was really fun and cool. But then after that, they never really had a feud with each other. They had Eddie come back and be mad at him for teaming with Claudia. They kind of had some stuff, but they never really, like they were on opposite sides of teams sometimes, but they never really had like a one-on-one feud with each other. Like it seems like he starts a lot of stuff and then it doesn't get finished.
That's also true.
And I don't know what's going on there.
Though. Yeah, him and Eddie has to happen.
Him and Eddie has to happen. Like in my dream, the way this ends is Eddie comes back whenever Eddie's ready to come back, and then he's the one who dethrones Mox. They have a real like personal feud where Eddie's like, "What's wrong with you?" and they have an actual like real feud over this. That would be really good.
Yeah, it needs to happen that way. I mean, well, first off, Eddie deserves it, and Eddie and Mox just the little hints that they showed, like obviously Renee would be involved in it,
right?
Like he already, in storyline hates Claudio, so they all have mutual friends. Then Eddie's just always mad and like yelling all the time.
Eddie had a problem with Danielson, but then Danielson kind of respected him by the end, so that could be a part of it, being like, oh, your partner, he respected me. Yeah, that would be an amazing feud. Like if they had a real several month feud between the two of them, that would be really good.
Oh, and that would be the throwback to like what he learned from Danielson.
Yeah.
Like, like he pushed me to like respect my work even more. Oh, that'd be awesome.
It would be good. It'd be really good.
That would be good.
I didn't watch the whole thing. Remember Renee did that interview with the Death Riders, like a 20-minute interview. Did they address Renee and Mox, like what's going on with them?
I also didn't like I only watched like the first 10 minutes and then just whatever was on the show. I never finished it either.
Yeah, so. They never to me personally, at least from what I can tell, they haven't addressed why like Mox has gone insane and Renee is still just like a backstage interviewer. Like it seems like they should have mentioned, like she should have a problem with it, or she should have say even like a random throwaway line like, "Oh, we don't talk about this stuff at home. This is work, and at home we're different." Fine, have that be your thing. And that would explain why, like, he's going around choking people out with plastic bags, and she's just like, "Coming up next, Powerhouse Hobbs." Like,
that's amazing.
The Death Riders thing, like the BCC, I don't think ever reached its potential of what it could have been either. Like there was when Mox came back and they had like the cryptic stuff, and they like, were in the pickup truck and they were driving around terrorizing people. Like that was so cool. The first few weeks. And then it just like, it is better now. Like the stuff they're doing where they're up against Copeland and FTR and Jay White, that's better than it's been.
Good.
It's just weird that like, I don't know, for a while they were just beating. They were like a bad version of NWO, where every week they were just like beating someone up and just leaving, and there was no reason for it. It's weird that it's Copeland and FTR and Jay White, because if you look at the purpose of the storyline when it started, that what everyone thought was, oh, he's gonna criticize the young talent at AEW, and they're gonna rise up and someone's gonna overthrow him, which is where it seemed like this was going. But like, Adam Copeland isn't a young AEW, like he's older than Mox. Like, it's weird that he's the one rising up. Like, why is no one else doing, like, other people did and they just forgot about them, right? Like,
well, this just popped in my head right now. If he dethrones Mox, Christian has the contract for the title shots. Then you have that baked in right there.
I have a fantasy booking version of that too, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my fantasy booking version of that is Mox and Copeland have like some violent, bloody match where they like beat the hell out of each other and they're both like beaten down and whatever.
Yeah.
But Mox wins. So Mox beats him. But like at the end, Mox is like, he's at his limit. They're both like destroyed. So then he's down and out, and Christian comes out and is like, oh, this is my chance to take the title, because look how exhausted he is. I'm going to try to take the title. He cashes in. They start the match. The Death Riders just come out and beat the hell out of him. And like, yeah, he gets disqualified, but now Christian lost his contract, and the Death Riders just beat him down, and they just like brutalize them. And like the patriarchy comes out to help, and they attack them. And like, they're going to town on Christian and just like destroying him. And then Yuta pulls out a plastic bag and they're going to choke him. Anyway, Copeland recovers and saves Christian.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And then they're together again.
Oh, that has to be the Toronto show, though.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
This story has so many, like, if you spend 10 minutes thinking about it, like, we just thought up like 3 or 4 ways this could go. Like, you spend 10 minutes thinking about it, it has potential. It definitely does. It just hasn't lived up to it.
The other thing, the dark horse in this whole thing that I just realized when you were talking a few minutes ago, kudos to Jay White. Like, like 4 months ago, I mean, if you were a diehard, you know the potential. You know he was IWGP heavyweight champion. You know all that. But like, if you didn't know that about him, like, here he is. Like, oh man, he just blossomed. Like, he's in the main event picture. It was almost like a switch was flipped, and like, he silenced a lot of his doubters for sure. Because I mean, he's not only does he fit with the likes of Copeland and Mox and FTR, he doesn't look like overshadowed by them either. Like, the
fact that he like could stand with Copeland and they look like equals.
Yeah.
Something. And Copeland's been in wrestling for like 30 years or whatever, right? So
yeah, like I said, he shut a lot of his naysayers up with that, because like, he's this, he's that, he's not this. Well, he's going toe to toe and basically overnight.
Again, that's a good thing about this. It has elevated some people. I mean, it's elevated Hobbs, it's elevated Jay White. It did elevate, Orange Cassidy, even though he was already pretty close to main event. Actually, Orange Cassidy's feud with Mox, that was a good feud. I enjoyed that. Like, the first time over the international title, that was a good feud.
That was great. That was great.
Yeah,
yes.
That was good. But like, it's just kind of a mess. Like, it's not downright bad. Like, I know you like the Bucks a lot, and that's fine. But like, the EVP storyline went off the rails really fast, and it was just bad at some point. Like, it was just bad. Like, a month in, it was just bad, and you couldn't save it. It was just like, we both said, just forget about the EVP thing and just have them be heels. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. So that was really bad. That was unsavable. I don't think this is unsavable. I think it's something.
No. Yeah, there's definitely something there for sure. And I mean, obviously they could fall flat on their face, but I have faith that in the grand scheme of things, like, we might look back on this, 6 months or a year and be like, oh, okay, that was the thing that pulled it all together. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're waiting for now.
I think it's small tweaks, because for a while we were waiting for, what's the thing he's talking about where he says, not your, like, forget about that. That's, they can't cash in on that storyline. That was 6 months ago or whatever. Like they can't, but they can tweak it a little bit to make it just a better storyline. And I think that it's possible. I don't want them to be like knockoff NWO, which they were for a while. Like, we're going to take over the company and just beat everyone up. And every show is going to end with us just like beating up people. Like that was the worst part of the NWO. Like someone watched the NWO, but only the bad parts. And we're like, we want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you could do that every once in a while, but you're right. You start to fall in that rut of every week it's the same thing. Then that's just people turn on you faster than you could think.
For a while, it was like watching, like if you watched Nitro back in the day and the main event was Hogan versus anybody, you were just like, okay, how long into this into this match until the NWO comes out? Because that's what you're waiting for, right? You know the match. You know Hogan's not losing the title, so it's just going to be 10 minutes of them doing something, and then the rest of the NWO comes out, and then the interesting part was what happens then. Like you were just waiting for the NWO to come and ruin the match, and that's kind of what was happening with the Death Riders. Like you're like, oh, they're coming out. Just wait. You just gotta wait 10 minutes, and then Yuta's gonna show up. And like it was predictable. It's getting better. They have done a better job the last few weeks. I think it's because they've kind of leaned into Mox does seem kind of scared of Copeland. Like he's kind of running away from him. Like when Copeland challenges him, he doesn't accept it. So adding some weakness to him is good because you can't just have this group that just crushes everybody. And you ever heard that story about Bob Holly?
No.
Bob Holly wrote a book and he said, do you remember in real life, Brock Lesnar broke his neck, like in an actual match, like Brock Lesnar broke his neck. Anyway, Bob Holly said that he pitched a storyline where he came back and beat Brock Lesnar and became WWE champion. And they're like, okay, well, what's next after you do that? He's like, oh, I just beat everybody. And you're like, well, that's not a storyline. That's just like, that's just you winning every match. Like, that's not interesting.
Yeah, you have to tell us why, not just like, that's
for a while it felt like that, like, oh, the Death Riders just beat everybody, so what's the point, right? Like there was no reason to like you have to have some doubt, like you know that there's no chance or very little chance of like the world title changing hands on a Dynamite or a Collision, right? You know that's unlikely to happen, but you have to have some sort of belief that maybe it's possible. And, and there hasn't really been that with them. Like Copeland's probably not going to win the title, but he might. So that's at least interesting enough that you're like, oh, maybe he beats him. Where about like the last few feuds that Mox was in, you're just like, he's not losing. There's no way.
True. Oh man, this is. I mean, obviously they're not going to get at like any major title change at Grand Slam. So this is definitely going to be like a Revolution thing, but that it's going to start at Grand Slam. Definitely. I think we're going to get the actual title shot at Revolution.
Yeah, I think we do too. I think Grand Slam, I think the title change is going to be Tony Storm. That's going to be that'll probably close the show if they're smart. They'll end it with Tony and Mariah because why wouldn't you?
I think they have to. Yeah, they have to because the other, I mean, no offense to Kyle Fletcher and Buddy Matthews and Harley Cameron, but the other people from Australia aren't on Tony's level right now.
Though I do like that there's an Australia pay-per-view and so they're like, you know who gets a title shot? Buddy Matthews. They just like Harley Cameron, like I like them both, but like they weren't anywhere near titles, and then suddenly there's a show in Australia and we're like, let's put them into title matches. But like it's the right thing to do. It should. Like it's smart.
I think Okada has a chance to lose his.
I kind of want him to, because I wanted him to do something else.
I will say this. Did you get to him and Matthew's confrontation on Collision? And he goes, "I'm no bitch." That was
pretty funny because he's you're the bitch. I'm not a bitch.
Yeah. And he's like, "No bitch."
The thing is, Okada is funny. Like I like that he's being funny. This is off topic, but I like that he's being funny. Like I like it. I want him to do something else too. Like not just be the guy who says bitch. Like he has to do some other stuff.
Unfortunately, I mean, I like that he is growing on television. Yeah. And I like the fact that it's not just him and the Bucks. Right. But he does kind of need the Bucks
to like play off of. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is that? Kind of like at first when Takeshita went heel, and he just didn't. He didn't. I don't want to say he didn't know how to be a heel. He knew how to be a heel, but people couldn't get over. Us fans couldn't get over, like, we liked him too much,
right?
Like, and like I think that's the thing with Okada. Like, he's a great heel, but we're still laughing with him because he's funny. Like, he's not like a sinister heel.
And he comes out and people are still like want to see him wrestle. They're like, oh, this guy's good. They're like still excited to see him, not like they want to boo him because he's a jerk.
Yeah. So like with the Bucks, they kind of have the snarky heel, which that's what he is.
Yeah, they could be like obnoxious jerks that people actually hate. Yeah.
Yeah. And like he could just be in the background and they could get all the, I'm going to use the air quotes, heat. But I do like that they're separate because, I mean, they've been group in Japan and Bullet Club. I mean, it's good that they're separate for now. That being said, is it just me, or is the Revolution font the Young Bucks font?
It looks very Young Bucks. I do feel like they're going to come back then. It's in California too, right?
Yeah, it's in LA.
Yeah, it would make sense for them to come back then. It looks very Young Bucks.
Yeah.
I hope two things. I hope when they come back, they're not like, we're going to save AEW, because I don't care. Like, don't do that. It's stupid. And I don't want them to come back and like forget everything. Like, they don't have to immediately go into a feud with Kenny Omega over like revenge. They could just ignore that if they want to. That's fine. But I don't want them to come back and just think we're different characters. Like, kind of hint at least why you're not obnoxious EVPs anymore. Like, you could just be obnoxious. You could just be like, oh, we just want to be dicks. We don't care about our EVP titles anymore. Just mention as a blow off line, and I'll be happy.
That's okay. Yeah.
So I do want them to explain why when they lost the titles, they got that was interesting. When they lost the tag titles, they weren't afraid of the Death Riders until they lost the tag titles, and then they suddenly got really afraid of them.
And then I want to know what papers Brandon Cutler was shredding.
Yeah.
That's been bugging me. Like, I get that it was just meant to be funny, but like, what was in those papers?
See, but that was an interesting angle from it, because they weren't scared of the Death Riders until they lost the belts, and then suddenly they were scared of the Death Riders. So like, did they have some deal where like they had to keep the titles away from Private Party or like something? I kind of want them to explain that, because that was kind of interesting.
Or maybe there was like some backdoor deal made, like
something.
They should,
I would like them to explain that, because that would be interesting if they made some like backdoor deal with the Death Riders. That would be fun to see.
That would be cool. And that's what they were shredding, like the contracts. Because they screwed Mox over.
Yeah,
that would be. See, we just fixed two things. 45 minutes.
That would be fun.
That would be great.
Now, I don't want to get too off topic, but when we're talking about heels and how it's tough to be like a likable guy and turn heel without doing anything like super dastardly.
Okay.
Someone who's turned heel amazingly and I didn't think could do it, Ricochet.
Yeah.
He's an incredible heel. And like,
a great heel.
I don't think he's ever been a heel to my knowledge before, but like he's immediately good at it. I don't know how, but he's great.
Isn't it weird how all these people that WWE said are talentless, when you don't write them stupid scripts like, Ricochet, you're going to be an ice cream man that's mad at the dog catcher. Right? Like, okay. Like, if you just let them like be what they are, professional wrestlers, they're pretty good.
He's doing a great job. He's doing an incredible job. Like, his character seems realistic. It seems like it would make sense that like he didn't just suddenly turn into an asshole. Like, it makes sense why he did that. Like, he's doing a great job. I love Ricochet. He's doing wonderful.
And when he, I got a little bit of chills when I said it. When he pinned Swerve, crowd was legit stunned.
Yeah.
Like, no one was like, oh, he's going to kick. Oh, whoa, that was 3. You don't get
as soon as Swerve came out with the robe, and you're like, this robe was very special to him. I'm like, well, as soon as you say that, that means something's going to happen to the robe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, that's like when Tony Schiavone tells you, we're staying with it for as long as it takes. And, the match is going to be over in about 3.5 minutes.
Remember when Athena came out and they're like, oh, she handmade this costume herself. Like, well, that's getting ruined. Like, that's definitely getting destroyed.
She'd have beat it with the bat or something, didn't she? Yeah. She had 30,000 hours of hand-sewn stitching into this.
As soon as you do that, you know the thing's getting destroyed. But yeah, some people were like, "Oh, Swerve can't lose this much." Swerve can lose every single match,
100,000,
and it doesn't matter. He's
right.
super over. That's the thing with Mox. Like, I get that his character is like a tough badass. I'm trying to circle back. I get that his character is like a tough badass, but like he could lose and it wouldn't matter. Like,
right.
He's Mox. Like he could lose to whoever. He could lose to, like, he's not going to lose to Copeland, I don't think, but he could lose to Adam Copeland. And then he could just come back the next week and be a tough badass and everyone would still be on board. Like, it's not like that would hurt him at all.
Yeah. See, this is the thing that I never understood. Wrestling promoters, and not just the horrible one that used to run WWF/WWE.
Yeah.
They always wanted to legitimize their sport. Yet they always say, "Wow, as soon as someone loses, that's giving them their ticket out of town." But like, boxing exists. The team that wins the Super Bowl doesn't win every single game every year. Like,
yeah, like if the Chiefs, I don't know enough about football, but if the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl this weekend, it's not like everyone's like, "Well, they're a terrible team who sucks." No, like they just lost the Super Bowl.
They lose the Super Bowl, and then like all their fans just sell all their tickets and merchandise.
And it goes, "Well, they're never gonna win again."
Yeah, it's over. So yeah, like wrestling promoters do it. They get like 96% of it right, but the 2% they get wrong is like the dumbest 2%.
It's very weird. Tony Khan's guilty of it too. You see, like he's getting better. He is getting better because for a while it was just like every Dynamite was filled with like main event guy and person who's definitely not winning the match. Like that was the show for a while, and you could tell that he was doing that because like, oh, I don't want my stars to lose too often. Which I get. You want them to look dangerous. You want them to look impressive, like they win a lot. But like they can lose sometimes, and it's fine.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Foley said, you never undermine your opponent too much,
right?
Because you have to look good when you beat them. Because if you're like, it was so easy, well, I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, I could wrestle 6 of him and be okay. Well, then wrestle 6 other people. I don't know, like that. Just if you undermine them, it's not as interesting.
That was a little bit what Mox did when he was just like, I'm going to put the 4 of you in the 3 of you in a 4-way match against me because I can beat all of you. Like he did kind of undermine them a little bit, and then they kind of fixed it because on the show, Excalibur was like, oh, I think Mox did that because he wants them to fight amongst themselves and not focus on him. And like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's not undermining them. That's just saying they're going to lose focus.
Right.
Which is fine. They like I said a million times, they can fix this. They just have to fix it. And it's no longer the worst part of the show. Like there was a time when like the Death Rider stuff came out and I was like, oh, this is boring. I know what's going to happen. I don't care. And I'm not there anymore. Like they're doing a better job and I'm enjoying it more now. And they just have to fix it a little bit and I'd be very happy.
And I think they're on the track. So,
yeah, Dynamite, like, I say this as obviously an AEW fan, but you know that like I've complained about AEW more than most AEW fans probably. But like the last little while for AEW has been very good. Like all their shows are good. All the angles are good. The storylines are good. The wrestling's always been good. And I don't know if it's because I watched some WWE and then was like, oh yeah, this is actually terrible. So that I like it. I appreciate AEW more, but I do. Like it's been very good for I don't know how long, at least the last little while. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Well, do you have anything else here, sir?
I don't think so. I do want to say just generally I've been, like I said, I was impressed with Dynamite. It was a good show. The last few weeks have all been good shows. I like every angle they're doing. Even Jericho is not so bad, if I do dare say. Like he's been fine.
I think he's been fine because this is just me. Because everything's been like what it should be and short.
Yeah, like I like that it's the New York Minute. It's only a minute. I'm like he can do a minute and that's fine. Like,
totally. Yeah.
Like this week when he was out and the crowd was like swearing at him and he was like, "Excuse me, you're cursing." That made me laugh. That was funny. Like that was good. And Brian Keith's random interjections, like those are always funny. If you keep him on TV for just a minute, he can do fine.
The moment of the year is Brian Keith yelling Mandela effect, and it's going to be so hard to beat.
He's doing great. He's doing a great job. Yeah, you're right. As long as they limit Jericho to like a short couple minute segment and that's it, he's fine.
Yeah.
and they've been doing that, and it's been pretty good. The only thing I said, like, the only thing I don't really like is whatever MJF's doing, and I get why they're doing it. That they're trying to keep him out of the title picture, but they want him to still be a prick. So they're having him pick on, guys generally everybody likes. But it's not that interesting. Like, I don't care about Dustin Rhodes personally, but it's fine. It's not bad. I mean, I didn't like a couple of weeks ago when you had that promo battle with Jeff Jarrett. That kind of sucked, but they kind of moved on from that. So they realized it too.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me per se, but I think, in my opinion, if I'm booking this, MJF has to lose to Legend.
Yeah,
just because nobody's going to see it coming.
Yeah,
because he wins all the time, and when he finally does have a match, it's only on pay-per-view. He usually cheats and wins. I want it not to be a full-blown ass beating, but him and Dustin, and he goes to cheat, Dustin rips the ring off his finger, throws it in the trash or something, and pins him.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, it just to shut him up and have the crowd chant Jarrett pinned you or Dustin pinned you or yeah, and him no he didn't, or of course say that he won.
I do want MJF to do something different, because you're right. It's just he comes out, he insults people, he doesn't really wrestle till pay-per-view, then he does and he wins, and then it just he does it again. He needs
rinse
to
and repeat with somebody else.
Yeah, he needs to do something different, and I totally get why he's doing what he's doing, because they don't want him in the world title. They want him to do something else. Just get to Millhouse when he's yelling, just get to the Firehouse Factory.
Yeah,
just get to him against Hangman. They're going there. I know they're going there. That's where it's heading. Just do it. Just go there now, because that would be fun, and I would enjoy that.
Yeah, I agree. That if that's what you're doing, cut out all the fat. People you don't need to explain it.
Yeah, just go. Just if next week Hangman just attacked him and they started a feud, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I'd be good totally with that.
Yeah. But otherwise, I've enjoyed all of it. Good show. Harley Cameron's hilarious, by the way.
Diamond in the rough. Back on, what was that called? QTV. She was annoying but funny, and I just hated the whole segments in general.
Yeah.
But obviously she was the funny one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I get they were QT segments, but I mean, that girl has got some talent, and those segments would have been way better with just her one-liners. Her timing is so good.
She's really good.
Yeah. Oh, she's so good. I whenever she announced the Harley, what's it called? The Harley halftime.
Houston halftime show. Harley halftime in Houston.
Yeah, Harley halftime in Houston. Whenever she said that, I wanted her to make a 3H reference, or there's 3 H's in that, or I'm gonna call that the I just wanted her to make her, but she didn't.
She should something it's the Harley halftime in Houston era. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be.
The fact that she's a puppet of Mercedes, that's incredible. I love it.
It is. It's amazing. The fact that she's a legit ventriloquist.
I know she's good too.
Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here. At Elite City Pod on all social media. We are everywhere. Interact with us. We will interact that back. We made a few new friends this week, so hello to the new listeners. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. It helps us out. We are on YouTube also. Don't forget to like on YouTube. That also helps us on the algorithm. That's about all we have for this week. So until next week, we'll see you then. Later.